On the biggest stage in the world, FanDuel's changing the game because sometimes your player gets subbed off and your bet goes with them. Not anymore. With FanDuel's Super Sub, if your player's subbed out, your bet stays in. That's right. If your player leaves the match, your bet continues on with the substitute. So you're still in it until the final whistle. Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
21 plus select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. 18 plus DCKYWY. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org/chat. Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Maryland. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org. Call 800-327-5050. Massachusetts. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY in New York. Call 877-770-7867. Louisiana.
Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
The Rita Cosby Show. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I know your name is Rita, 'cause your perfume is smelling sweet. Since when I saw you down on the floor. Guitar.
Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, many in the mainstream media still not reporting these allegations against Graham Platner. And the woman at the heart of this story in the New York Times who accuses him of essentially twisting her arm, but not breaking it, but coming close, locking her in a bedroom, almost like bruising her, pushing her, some pretty serious allegations and some very violent rhetoric as well. She feels that the New York Times betrayed her, that the New York Times was printing comments by her and other women, and they really didn't mention the other women barely at all. They spent most of the article on her, and they watered down her comments. She feels that this was an attempt by the New York Times to try to help Graham Platner, that they waited weeks upon weeks to put this story out, and she is furious tonight. And by the way, here is Guy Benson. Guy Benson is a contributor on Fox News. This is cut number 70. And Guy Benson is someone who has been on the air for a long time, very well respected. And he says he knows this woman who's accusing, of course, the woman at the heart of it all here, who's the ex-girlfriend, by the way, of 3 years. It wasn't like a three night date. This is 3-year-long relationship with Graham Platner, which he admits, she was a long-time relationship, girlfriend of his for a while in the past. And so she has come forward, but she knows also Guy Benson. They somewhat know each other because they travel in sort of similar circles politically and elsewhere. So take a listen to this. Here's what Guy Benson said about the main accuser of Graham Platner.
Well, first of all, I just want to disclose for the audience that Lindsay Fifield, who is one of the women quoted and cited in this piece, is someone that I know, I'm friendly with through a friend group. I did not know that she was a source on this story until very recently. I did know that she had a very toxic relationship in her past. I did not realize that was Graham Platner. So I just want to say that for the audience. To your question about the timing of this, a lot of that is raising questions not just for average people who are reading this in the newspaper for the first time, but for the people behind the scenes that I have a little bit of insight into, including not just Lindsay, but the other women. There are multiple women, roughly half a dozen on background. One other one is quoted by name in this story, ex-girlfriends of Graham Platner, most of them politically progressive. Lindsay is conservative. And there is a sense of confusion and betrayal right now about the nature of this report, what was included and what was not.
Yeah, they feel like this was a con job, a catch and grab where they say, oh, we're going to do this big story, trust us. Then they watered it down, they delayed it, so it actually helped Graham Platner after many of the early mail-in votes came in. And now, hopefully the voters will forget. So it's going to be interesting if indeed she's furious. Maybe she ends up doing an interview, and maybe these other women, the other two that were slightly mentioned in the story, maybe they come forward. And also maybe many other women out there, because I'm sure these aren't just three. They're probably three of a whole stadium full of women. Maybe the rest of them will start coming out of the woodwork too. That would be great, and it's important. Speak now. Here is James Carville, and of course, Trump antagonist, but this is what he had to say about it all.
I don't care if you committed a crime, didn't charge him, and then throw his ass in jail, but so far we have none of that. We got a up guy who he could be 100 times more up than he is. He'd never be as up as what we got in Washington now anyway. And I just saw this tut and hey, we got to do this and we got to be fair. You know, James, if a Republican did what Graham Platner did, you would be outraged. Yeah, I would. But what I'm more outraged about and what I have to consider first is this country is about to lose it. The whole thing. Abraham Lincoln suspended habeas corpus. Why? Because he had to win a war. Okay, we got to win this. And if we got a person who's understandably got issues, yeah, good. And maybe people ought to see it. And maybe we ought to just be reminded of what these stupid wars have brought about and the consequence of said stupid wars. That stupid Susan Collins been for all of her political life. So I ask all of you to consider the candidacy of Graham Platner. I ask all of you to understand his flaws and understand the peril that this nation is in. And maybe he might be the right guy at the right time, for all I know.
That's an amazing statement. We see your calls coming in. That is an amazing statement that James Carville essentially says, well, we need the numbers. We're willing to take somebody. Maybe having somebody troubled and deranged around reminds everybody of the effect of war. I mean, what a twisted behavior. And there are a lot of people who come back from war that go through problems, understandably. I would never criticize somebody's military service or the effects of the war on somebody. But to go get a Nazi tattoo and that's on your body for 17 years, and the girlfriend says she knew exactly what it was and he did too, and now he has to explain that maybe she knew it, but he didn't know it, but it's on his body, that's inconceivable. Here's a little more of James Carville because he's always fired up. Listen to this.
But what would you say to a Republican who says, James, if there was a Republican combat veteran who had a Nazi tattoo, a Totenkopf tattoo, you wouldn't be so forgiving? What would you say to that?
That's true. I would say you're exactly right. If that person was a 4-time combat veteran, I'd say I'd never vote for him, or maybe it's her now. We have women in combat. But you know, you can't. But I wouldn't vote. I wouldn't vote for. I think the greatest danger we face right now is from Donald Trump.
That's incredible. He brings it back to Trump derangement syndrome. Trump is a bigger threat than Graham Platner, according to James Carville. I mean, does that make any sense to anybody out there? Deflect and deranged. To sit there and go, oh, yeah, definitely, it's Trump derangement. Trump is terrible. He's the worst. He's horrible. He's despicable. This is just absolutely horrible. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, he just had a Nazi tattoo. Let's move on. And listen to Sunny Hostin. She's on The View. I actually thought The View I was watching earlier this week, I thought they kind of came around. Because when some of these allegations came out about Graham Platner, it sounded like they were like, oh, this is really bad. But now suddenly, listen to what Sunny says. She's going to hold her nose, and this is what she would do if she was in Maine.
A lot of good people have seen what politics has turned into. They've seen that, you know, that the bar is very, very low, and they don't want to get muddied by what's going on in Washington. But I will say, yesterday I was sort of on the fence. I'm like, character matters. Morals matter. I can't believe that this is the person in Maine that's going to, you know, take on the Republican, take on Susan Collins. I'm now convinced that we are really in a bad place in this country. Democrats have to take over the Senate. They have to take over the House. They have to bring some semblance of normalcy back to this government. And if it takes getting behind someone like Platner, which 51% of voters in Maine say that they will get behind him as opposed to 42%. If I lived in Maine, I would hold my nose and I would pull that lever and I would vote for him.
I vehemently and strongly
I
disagree
knew-
with this.
I knew you would,
So
girl.
here we come.
That's incredible. He's a scumbag, but I don't like Trump. That's essentially what she's saying. I mean, are people that deranged with Trump derangement syndrome that they cannot see the forest for the trees? 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to David in New Rochelle, line 5. Go ahead, David.
Rita, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm taking it off the microphone. Hang on
Yeah,
a
please,
second.
hurry up. You got to be ready, David. Go ahead.
Okay, so if this guy had any, like you say, cojones, the first thing he would have done, he would have blackened over his tattoo or had it removed and told the public, I'm trying to better myself. I'm going to have the tattoo removed. He didn't. He also didn't follow Marine regulations. They have stringent regulations about what kind of tattoos can be put on the body. So obviously he did it without their permission. So he's a real scumbag. And the reason why he's not removing the tattoo, really, Rita, is because he's afraid to lose his inner circle of friends. He takes that off, and the guys that he's hung around with, the other scumbags, because you know how it works. You're a reflection of who you hang out with. He's afraid. So that's why he didn't take off the tattoo. He's a lowlife, unqualified, with a SS concentration camp. They should lock this guy up and throw the key away. Or somebody should get a baseball bat and break every bone in his body.
Well, we don't want that, David, but I will tell you that I you know what's interesting? I'm wondering where you brought up a good point about his buddies. Who were the people that he was hanging out with? I'd love to know. How many people walk around with a SS guard tattoo for 17 years and people that thought it was cool? I'd love to know what people thought it was great. Does he have other friends who have similar tattoos that have similar beliefs? And the other question I'm wondering too, David, tonight is what's going to happen? Where are the other military guys that were maybe in his unit? I haven't heard them come to his defense. I know he's trashed other veterans, so maybe they feel as disgusted as I do about the way he's trashed some real great American heroes, a guy named Ted Daniels and Chris Kyle, the American sniper. But aren't you curious a little bit, David? You brought up an excellent point of who is he hanging around with? Who was in his inner circle when he was doing these things? Maybe we need to know, were they there? And he said, yeah, I really want that Totenkopf one. That's great. I mean, are they like-minded? And where are the people coming to his defense in the military? I haven't seen that part either. I'd be curious on those.
Well, Rita, he's associated himself with the annihilation of 6 million Jews, a couple million gypsies, and other people, mentally deficient people, were all executed, liquidated, machine gun, gassed.
You left out the many members of the Polish resistance, like my father's family.
Exactly.
So go ahead, David.
My mother's father, his name is Nathan. He lost every single person in his life. Not one survivor from Poland made it out. He came here in a 30-cent money home to Poland to try to get them out. Nobody got out. No relatives, no friends. Everybody died. And this guy associates himself with that Nazi regime. He's unstable, Rita.
I agree.
So apparent.
I agree. And you know what I don't? You know what I don't buy, David? I don't buy.
Yeah.
Did you hear this hogwash that he's saying? That I didn't know it was a Totenkopf. You wear a thing like that for 17 years. Either you're stupid.
He's a pathological liar.
I agree. He's either a liar or he's stupid. And I tend to think the first one.
Absolutely. I'll let you go.
Yeah, David. By the way, David, I want to say one thing. I'm thinking of your family tonight, and thank you for sharing that story because we must never, ever forget and stand up against evil.
Yeah, and what you said too, there were many good Polish people who took in Jewish people and protected them throughout the war.
Yes.
And they're heroes, and Israel's recognized them all. And it's just such a shame that the American people have lowered their standards, their virtues, their morals to associate with a person like that. It's just beyond human understanding. The people that respect this guy are monsters themselves, complete monsters, horrible people. How could you trust somebody like that?
Yeah, I 100%. They need to wake up. David, thank you. And thank you very, very much for speaking out. Such an important message. Very much. Everybody, we are going to continue with your calls right after the break. The number to call is 1-800-848-9222. And you are listening to The Rita Cosby Show on a very busy news night.
The Rita Cosby Show. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Breaking news.
And just in, and it's a biggie, especially for Knicks fans like me. Game 2 has just finished, and the Knicks have won by 1 point. They won 105-104 against the San Antonio Spurs. This was Game 2, of course, of the NBA playoffs, and it's a big one. Of course, they won the first game last night. It was 105-95. And then we are being told that they won the second one. I believe we're waiting to see, right? Is that correct? We're being told they won 105-104. Is that correct? I'm seeing my producer's looking like he's not sure now. Maybe he has an update. Maybe my producer was a little premature, you guys. Yeah, 105. Did they win? They did not win yet. Okay, I'm being told they did not win yet. Oh, it is over. Okay, good. So, all right. So it is correct. A little bit of mixed signals from the control room, but we'll forgive them. We got a new guy on the board. But we have 105-104. Knicks winning San Antonio. All right, so this is the second big win. The first one, Knicks to the San Antonio Spurs, 105-95. Second game just a few moments ago, doubly confirmed. 105-104, winning by 1 point. That's incredible. And then, of course, game 3 is going to be in Madison Square Garden on Monday night, and President Trump says he's got to come. So this is going to be a wild one. New York is going to go absolutely crazy. Can you imagine what it's like? They have won 2 games, and then game 3 on Monday night in New York City. Already, New York City's going crazy. In fact, I was looking tonight. There were all these watch parties that were outside of Madison Square Garden. Remember, the game wasn't there. It was in San Antonio tonight. But there was a big crowd outside. Everybody cheering, everybody screaming. It was really, really great. So let me play. This is cut 83. And this is President Trump. And he was asked, what does he like about the Knicks? Like, who's his favorite player? This is cut 83, and this is President Trump, what he had to say.
Well, Brunson's fantastic. Towns is fantastic. They just have a great team.
You heard it. He says Brunson's fantastic. They have a great team. And President Trump will be there at MSG for now game 3. So the big question is, will it be a Knicks sweep? It's looking pretty good after tonight. Maybe so. We'll be right back.
The Rita Cosby Show. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Breaking news.
And as we said, the good news, sorry, there's a little confusion there, but the good news is that, yes, the Knicks have won game 2 against the San Antonio Spurs. And boy, was it down to the wire. It was 105-104 game 2. That is a biggie. So 2 games so far for the Knicks against the San Antonio Spurs. And game 3 is going to be in New York at Madison Square Garden, and President Trump is going to be there. That is an incredible, incredible moment. But get this, the Democrats, we've been playing these crazy comments all day long. Everything is anti-Trump, anti-this, anti-that. Listen to Hakeem Jeffries. He's, of course, the House Minority Leader, a Democrat. And listen to what he had to say. He starts blaming, saying Trump is going to ruin it by coming to Madison Square Garden. How is Trump going to ruin it by going to Madison Square Garden? He's going to bring more attention to the game. Obviously, it's going to be a great game now that it's going to be game number 3. That's amazing. So this is going to be an incredible moment. You got the president of the United States. You're going to have the world's press corps covering the president, first sitting president to be at an NBA final. That's a big deal. And he's going to bring so much more attention to this moment. So this is going to be great. How is he going to ruin it? He's going to make it even more exciting, if that's possible now, knowing that it's game 3. So here is Hakeem Jeffries, and of course, he has Trump derangement syndrome. Listen to what he had to say.
Game 2 of the NBA Finals tonight in San Antonio. Game 3 will be next week in New York City. President Trump says he plans to attend. What do you think the reception will be?
I'm not sure it's going to be a good reception for him, but why does Donald Trump always have to ruin a good thing? Like, literally, the Knicks haven't been in the NBA Finals for 27 years. The city is trying to celebrate this. We've embraced this team, and this guy has to inject himself. I mean, come on, seriously, give us a break. Why doesn't this guy just focus on trying to improve the quality of life of the American people? Because the Trump economy has been a disaster.
Are you going when they're in New York?
No, next week we're in session. We'll be here in Washington, D.C., but I hope to gather with a group of friends and colleagues and, watch the Knicks be successful in both Game 3 and Game 4 in the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden.
So I'm not going to come. Trump's going to ruin it by being in New York. Give me a break. He built the skyline. So many of the great buildings here are Trump projects or his family's projects. Give me a break. It is so crazy. He can't even be relishing the fact that President Trump is coming to an NBA game. That's just preposterous. And speaking of which, he talked about the economy. President Trump today was talking about the economy because they got some great jobs numbers, which means good news for Americans, not just President Trump, but good news for Americans.
So we had incredible job numbers today. You saw that. And we have good everything, good numbers. But the job numbers just came out, and they were fantastic. Far better than even anticipated. They anticipated pretty good, but they had no idea it was going to be that. And unfortunately, we're in a world where for the last 15 years or so, when you have good numbers, the market goes down. When you have bad numbers, the market goes up because too much emphasis is placed on inflation. And you don't have to have inflation by having growth. We have great growth, and that doesn't mean inflation. In fact, it could be anti-inflation growth. So I hope the market starts to learn that when you have good numbers, the market should go up, not down.
And it is good economic news. And President Trump is definitely touting that, as well as he's juggling everything going on with Iran and so much more. But surely the Democrats got a lot that's on their plate. And I'll just say 2 words, Graham Platner, because, of course, the big rally tonight and the big primary in Maine on Tuesday. And I want to play again what Graham Platner had to say last night on MS Now. This is so far sort of the only interview he has done. He did speak at the rally tonight, if you want to call it a rally. But here he is on MS Now saying these allegations about me. Well, I was a bad boyfriend, but I'm a good human being. Listen to this.
Grappled with how to process her experiences. She was quick to note he never hit me, he never punched me. She said he regularly grabbed her by the shoulders, sometimes hard enough to leave marks. On one occasion, yanked her out of a cab by her wrist after an argument in which she wanted to stay in the car. During one argument, she recalled he twisted her arm behind her back, shoved her into a bedroom, and held the door closed from the other side so she couldn't get out, telling her to remain there until she was calm. Eventually, Ms. Fifield said she fell asleep and left the next morning. It hurt, she said, but she added it didn't cause any injury. It didn't break my arm. Did that happen?
No, it did not. There are some allegations in this piece that I just want to be kind of unequivocal about are simply not true. Anything alleging physicality, anything alleging that I knew what my tattoo was, these are the statements of someone who's politically motivated. In this piece, there's a lot about my struggling, not being a good boyfriend, certainly self-medicating with alcohol, and I've been very upfront since the beginning of this campaign that was a pretty dark period of my life after I came back from my combat service, and that's what that kind of life looks like. And so there are things in this that I absolutely will take responsibility for and have been speaking about openly for months now. But those serious allegations are just not true.
You did not grab her by the wrist. You did not put your hands on her shoulders. You did not push her into a room that you closed the door on. She's lying about that, is what you're saying.
Yes, that is not true.
He says not true. Does anybody out there believe him? Well, believe it or not, you guys, listen to Maine voters. You're going to hear from a few people in Maine who say they're still standing by Graham Platner. I don't know what's in the water there in Maine, but this is what they're saying.
Grappled with how to process her experiences. She was quick to note he never hit me.
He's the best candidate by far, and probing into the minutia of his personal relationships when you don't do that for any other candidate is ridiculous.
Is there anything that would change your mind at this point?
Absolutely not.
If we want folks that are representing us from the working class, they're not necessarily going to have a groomed and perfect political record coming into the politics.
That's what they're saying. Maybe he's a little rough around the edges. But I guess they say that's okay as long as he hates Trump? I guess that's what they're saying. I mean, that is really, really frightening. When I hear that, that is stunning to me. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. If you were in Maine, would you vote for this guy? I can tell you right away, heck no. Heck no. This, to me, is such a referendum on the Democratic Party. They have gone so far left. They are so desperate to try to get back the Senate that they'll accept somebody as low as Graham Platner. And it sounds like Maine voters so far, I think they're being fooled by him. I'd love to know how many people showed up at this rally tonight. And you were hearing earlier from Dave in New Rochelle, who brought up some good points about this guy and his military background. He can't get rid of the tattoo because I guess that wouldn't be good with his buddies. Who were his buddies that were with him when he got it? What did he say when he got it? That would be interesting. And where are the military guys in his unit? You know, the military is such a close fraternity. Where are these guys coming to his defense? I haven't seen any of them. Maybe they're there. I haven't seen them, or they haven't been too loud. That's for sure. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Stu in Brooklyn on line 5. Go ahead, Stu.
Oh, good evening, Rita. Rita, the most important thing I have to tell you is tonight I had low sodium Goya dark red kidney beans. They were wonderful.
By the way, and we love Goya, that is for sure. And they're healthy, too. That's the most important thing, right?
Gives you the extra protein and fiber. Now, on to the main event. I think that every time you mention this moron's name in Maine, and down east we call them maniacs, I think you ought to play the Panzer lead. And anytime any of the Democrats like Hakeem, this ought to be their new theme song, the Panzer lead. And that way we'll know who they identify with, and it'll tag them forever as the party of the Nazis. That's their big base of support.
Yeah.
It's insane. I'm tired of hearing about this guy.
By the way, I agree with you. I agree that it's insane. It's insane.
The guys who about this time were already fighting for their lives in France, the 101st, the 82nd, and the Ox and Bucks at Pegasus Bridge.
And hey, Stu, hold on 1 second. By the way, you know I do support our heroes. I'm just about to talk about D-Day. It's the 82nd anniversary, as you know. Actually, right now, it's heading into it. And they, like you said, they were just about to storm the beaches. So we are going to do that in about a minute or two, like we always do every night. And Stu, if you listen to especially 77 WABC, we had earlier today on Katz and Cosby, we had on Jack Jacobs, who's a Medal of Honor recipient. And he talked about the importance of D-Day and what it means. So I 100% agree with you. As we're talking about that, what is the lesson you think from D-Day? And do you think like the young people now, I think about, Stu, when I think about those guys storming the beach, so many of them were teenagers. What do you make of, this new generation now? I mean, do you think we have, do you think we have people who would storm the beach like those heroes?
I see them whenever I go to the VA, and we're very proud. Let me tell you something about that, if I have a minute. My 22-year-old granddaughter is volunteer ambulance service. She will graduate this fall. She's already had her first interview for medical school. She is a gold medal track All-American. And whenever I went to the track meets, you meet other parents there of these athletic kids, and it cuts across race and color and everything else. These parents have gotten up early in the morning for years to get kids to meets and so on. They're disciplined, they're trained, they're funny, and you don't smell weed in the stands when you're watching them run. That is our future. Those young people are people you'll be very proud of. And you're damn right, they would jump out of airplanes and be there.
That's beautiful, Stu. You know what? And it's nice. I'm heartened to hear that because there are a lot of great people out there and young people. And you just talked about a few of them. So thank you so much, Stu. And we love you and we appreciate you. And we're going to be talking about D-Day in just a moment or two because I agree with you. It is such an important moment and something I'll never forget. I went over there to Normandy twice, you guys, and I encourage everybody to go over there. It is truly life-changing. There is no doubt about it. Let's go to Rob in Maryland on line 4. Go ahead, Rob.
Hello, lovely Rita.
How you doing? How you doing?
I love your song, this lovely Rita Meter Maid.
I love that too from the Beatles. It's the best. I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. The last time I spoke to you was back in November, October of 24, right before Trump won.
Wow.
Yeah, I called you then. It's kind of hard to get in, but anyhow, I just have two things real quick. This Platner and Susan Collins. Do you think that they will debate? He will, or he'll, bow out of the debate with her? Because I think she should confront him and ask him directly, stare in his face and say, do you think it's okay to rape a woman, or should they just buck up? She should throw that right back in his face if they debate.
You know what? First of all, I think he's going to have to debate. I agree with you. The other issue, the problem with this guy is he kind of keeps making it sound like, he went through a bad period and made crazy comments. And, we don't have to go back there. Let's talk about the future. Let's not talk about these I can just see him trying to minimize it and make it sound like it's a past comment. It's this, it's that. But I agree. Yeah. She has to hammer him 100%. She has to hammer him.
I can't wait. And I just hope, Susan Collins, she's a little kind of in the middle to the left a little, but you know what? She needs to the people in Maine need to keep her in the Senate there. We got to hang on to her. She can't be, they can't let her go.
I agree.
And then one other,
and by the way, she's a moderate. She's a moderate, Rob, which is what works in Maine. Everybody, they're.
The Rita Cosby Show, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And everybody, as we are now fast approaching D-Day, let's never forget the great heroes, the great American heroes who sacrificed so much for our freedom. We love you. We appreciate you. And also, before we leave, let's go Knicks. They have won game 2. Now game 3 and 4 to go. And game 3 is going to be at MSG with President Trump. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Sacco and Feliz, New York and New Jersey's premier attorneys at law. Their team brings decades of experience across a wide range of practice areas. Whatever life brings, they're your legal team. From everyday matters to complex cases, they've got you covered with the experience you need and the results you want. Because when life gets complicated, they make it simple. SaccoFeliz.com. SACCOFILLAS.com. 2 C's, 2 L's.